So, all of us have taught our kids, and we're not just talking about our own kids, but let's say as parents, but also teachers and coaches, taught some basic character issues and moral issues and rules. And now it's 10 months, a little bit over 10 months, since Trump's regime 2.0 took over. Just over 10 months. I came up with, at a minimum, of 10 major transgressions. So transgressions are, serious violations of a moral order, of character, and so forth. But it turned out, I started out with 10, ended up with 43. And I invite you guys to add any as you come across this. So, if I read them all out loud, it would be like that famous line about reading the New York City telephone book. Could get boring. I'm just going to read some, okay? And then I'm going to explain some examples, some illustrations of these transgressions. Now, we're not only talking about Trump, we're also talking about his cabinet and all the people he's appointed, which I call the marionettes, the puppets. And they were purposely picked because they're incompetent and ignorant and therefore totally loyal and obedient and easily brainwashed, or they like being brainwashed. But the other thing that we're going to get to is, what about us? What are we doing and not doing that we have to be doing? All right, here's a list. Okay. Inciting, scapegoating, brainwashing, plundering, intimidating, mocking, censoring, deflecting, blame shifting, gaslighting. Now that's only 10. So let me read a few more of them, like faking, lying, cheating, stealing, bribing, looting, plundering, or do I already have that? Impoverishing, threatening, scapegoating, brainwashing, mainstreaming thuggery, and bigotry. And then one of the biggest is being a sore loser and unsportsmanlike conduct. When Trump refused to accept the election results of the 2020 election against Biden, he continued to be sore loser and went to every possible length to do the opposite of sportsmanlike conduct, which is whichever team loses and the ones that win, they go up on the field and shake each other's hands. Of course, Trump is incapable of that because he's got a big personality defect, which we call narcissism. But anyway, he's been in power only 10 months, and way too many people have been obeying in advance. For example, the current censoring, the current elimination of our friend Stephen Colbert from the nightly show on CBS, which was canceled or not renewed, really because of who was the central villain? It was Trump. He pressured these networks. This has never, ever been done before in a democracy like ours. It happens in totalitarian countries all the time, taking over the media, taking over universities. So here's an example of brainwashing. In particular, the Republican Party, which has been transformed into a cult by threats and intimidation of the Donald. Yes, let me tell you, I'm referring to Donald Trump, whether it's 1.0 or 2.0, from a nickname he was given many, many, many years ago in New York City. Okay, how about intimidating? This is a good one. And you might have seen this live on TV. Was that a mafia circle in the back room of a dark, wood-paneled restaurant in Little Italy in New York City, or was I hallucinating? In fact, it was the live TV inquisition of Volodymyr Zelensky Ukraine's president, in the Oval Office by the Donald and special henchman J.D., or I call him juvenile delinquent, Vance, on February 28, 2025, in the Oval Office, featuring a display of barbarism verging on the likes of Uganda's Idi Amin, if you remember him. What about the mocking? Mocking. And if you were mocked like by a president, would you forgive it so easily? Well, mocking is not a capital crime. It's one that kids begin to do as early as kindergarten, but we teach them not to. Like lying and bullying, adults in power need to be scrupulous in monitoring kids and providing guidance.